Welcome everyone, Costine here with my Hunter Gearing Guide for World of Warcraft Burning Crusade Classic for both Tier 4 and for Tier 5, which is what a lot of people are interested in right now. But before we get into Tier 5, let's talk about what you want to have going into it. So, with Hunters, the one thing they want above all else is Forset Beastlord. The reason you want Forset Beastlord is because that Forset bonus gives you 600 armor penetration, which is a significant amount of damage. I believe it's about 5% damage increase. It's that armor penetration on Beastlord, which is what's giving Hunters such a high amount of DPS at this very moment, and it's something that all Hunters should strive for. You get for the Helm, chest, shoulders, gloves. Pants, you want to leave open for an item from Crusade. So outside of that, and gemming wise, you know, pretty straightforward. 12 agility, 3% increased critical damage, requires 2 red, 2 yellow, you can use orange gems, and 2 blues, you can use purple gems for that. So helmet, you'd use the Cenarian Expedition 34 attack power and 16 hit rating. Helm enchant, the helm drops from Mechanar normal. Neck choker of violent intent. You can get also the seasonal one, the Hun one, but it's only 25 badges of justice for choker of violent intent. Shoulders, you get them from Steel Vaults normal, and you put 30 attack power, 10 hit rating, shoulder enchant from Aldor. I mean, it doesn't really matter too much, I guess, as a hunter if you go Aldor or Scribe, but yeah, I assume most people will be going Aldor. There's some quest rewards that can help you out early on. Anyway, 2 8 agility gems on it. For the meta, I went with 4 hit, 4 agility. Cloak Vengeance Wrap with an 8 agility gem for that socket bonus. Vengeance Wrap is considered generally the best one. Though if you want extra hit, if you're lacking a hit, and you may be lacking a hit, you can use the Drape of the Dark Reavers from Shade of Ran, or any of the other cloaks like Auchenai Crypt, Death Shroud, or Cloak of the Inciter, if you so desire. Chest piece, Beastlord, chest piece, which, well, it's not even showing up where it's dropping from. The way the site figures which is what's good and what's not, well, anyway. But yeah, this drops from Botanica normal. Bracers, best in slot bracers from Old Hills, Brad Foothills, Heroics from the final boss. There are some alternatives that are similar, like the Stalker Warbands from Atumen the Huntsman, first boss of Karazhan, or you can use Primal Strike, or you can use any other bracers, but Nightfall, I think, overall are the best. Weapons, melee weapons. Well, you want to have one fist weapon at least because of weight stones, and the Big Bad Wolf's Paw is a really good one, though crucially, it does not have any hit. So if you need a weapon with hit, you can use some other choices available that may give that. Same with the offhand. The Blade of the Unrequited from Julio and Romeo from the Opera event. Generally considered one of the best items, but again, some other options. You have plenty of options in terms of melee weapons. You usually want to go with 2 of them. You don't want to use a 2-hand, unless you're survival, and even then, maybe not, just because of the weight stones. Like, usually you just want to have these these kind of 2 weapons. Doesn't matter what it is, just go with whatever are the best stats. And you want to have a fist weapon for the main hand, at least, for the sake of weight stones. Gloves, Beastlord handguards, which drop from Shadow Halls normal. Have fun with that. Like, farming this set can be a pretty big pain in the ass, but it's absolutely needed because it's some significant DPS increase compared to not having it. Belt, the one that's recommended on a lot of lists is the Gronstitch Girdle, and in terms of like attack power and crit strike, it's really good, but you may need hit. And for hit, having the Girdle of the Death Dealer from Black Morass Heroic would be recommended. I mean, you lose something compared to the Gronstitch Girdle, like you might lose, you don't really lose too much, but obviously you don't have gem sockets, but you do gain that hit, and that hit can be pretty useful. It's a good hit item to have. And here's the thing, as a hunter or as a physical DPSer in general, you will have plenty of hit in pre-raid and plenty of hit in tier 4 gear. but you may not have plenty of hit in tier 5, and especially not in tier 6 gear. So having these kind of items with high hit on them, or hit on them in general, having them in your inventory for the situation where you might get, say, an item in tier 6 later down the line, would be especially beneficial. Pants. The general consensus seems to be that Skulker's Greaves are the one offset item you want to use from Netherspite and Karazhan. 3 gem sockets, good hit, good attack power, good agility, very good item overall. 50 attack power and 12 crit rating. Pant enchant. Boots, Edgewalker, long boots, though this is something a lot of people like rogues and druids want. You can use the Fiend Slayer's boots if you so desire. Maybe you even want to use the Fiend Slayer boots just because of the intellect. You can use them, but ultimately Edgewalker are the best ones. Rings. For a BM Hunter, which is what this gearing is for a BM Hunter, I'd say you can't do wrong with Garona's Signet Ring, which drops from the Curator, and the Ring of 1,000 Marks, which drops from Prince Malchezaar. There are some other rings available, like the Rings of the Recalcitrant, which is pretty solid, but it doesn't have any hit on it, and you will want to have that. Like, you could use the Ring of Recalcitrant if you have a Boomkin in your raid to give you the extra 3% hit, but otherwise, not really. And there are people who want that ring as well. Trinkets, best choices. What are the best choices for trinkets? Well, obviously, Dragon Spine Trophy is the number one. You will be using this all the way until tier 6 and even beyond, potentially all the way into some. Well, and the second best in slot trinket is the Badge of the Storm Guard from AQ40. Yes, enjoy going back to doing old raids every week, because the trinkets that you can get there are the best in slot trinkets for multiple people. Like, you have a best in slot healing trinket, you have the badge, which is best in slot for every physical DPSer, and you might even have the fetish. What are alternatives? Well, the one that a lot of people would go for initially until they get the ST would be Bloodlust Brooch, though I wouldn't ignore getting Icon of the Unyielding Courage from Blood Furnace Heroic. That armor penetration is really nice, really powerful. And then, of course, you have Hourglass of the Unraveler from Black Morass Normal. Another trinket worth looking at is called Mark of Conquest, which the benefit of which is that it gives you mana back when you are hitting a target, which can be very, very useful for hunters. Hunters have genuine mana issues in Burning Crusade because, sure, they have an aspect that can regenerate mana for them, but they don't want to use it usually. They want to rely on a combination of Dark Runes, Judgment of Wisdom, and potentially Mark of Conquest in order to keep their mana up. It's a better decision for them. So consider getting Mark of Conquest for situations where you don't have a Paladin that can judge Wisdom. It can help you out quite a lot. Weapon. Generally, weapon-wise, you would mostly go, like a lot of people would go for Sun Fury Bow of the Phoenix. So, maybe if you can get the long rifle, good luck with that. Maybe that's worth using versus the Sun Fury Bow. I'm not quite entirely certain about the math behind it, but, the long rifle might be a choice, or maybe the Wolf Slayer sniper rifle. There's always been discussions among hunters like, is Sun Fury better or is Wolf Slayer better? It's like, what's the best in slot weapon? And it depends on who you ask among hunters. Maybe getting both of them would be a good idea. Now, if you're playing survival, you would only need to change a couple of things really to make this really viable for a survival hunter. Like, you would change the cloak. For an example, you would change the cloak to get the extra agility. And maybe you would change some other items as well, like the offhand weapon as an example, or the Gronstitch Girdle. Rings potentially as well can work. Now, this set has 9.2% ranged hit chance, so you can drop or you can change some of the items if you want to go with only 6% if you have a balanced druid in your raid. And that can improve your DPS, though whether or not you will have those items available in tier 4, that's the big discussion. Later on, you will have those items, and that's where balanced druids become really, really powerful. That's why balanced druids are so important to a raid, because later on, when you are struggling for hit, getting to that 9% hit chance can be a pain, and you are sacrificing a lot of stats in tier 6 gearing to manage it. So a balanced druid can add 100 to 200 DPS for each hunter in the raid, because it gives them the ability later down the line, not necessarily in tier 4, but gives them the ability later down the line to not have to make those kind of sacrifices, which is a significant DPS boost for them. I've seen this firsthand. It's pretty incredible. Anyway, moving on to tier 5. The more things change, the more things stay the same. Beast Lord is still a very powerful set even in tier 5. And to be quite honest, the hunter with tier 4 best in slot, maybe a weapon change would still do very, very high damage. But tier 5, you wanna change your pants. You want to change a lot of the item slots. So helmet, tier 5 helmet, shoulders, chest, gloves. Pants you get from Void Reaver Greaves. They have 37 agility, 24 intellect, 88 attack power. You do lose some hit, but what you lose in hit, you make up in other stats and attack power and a bit of agility. But of course, your hit is going to suffer. But that's fine, because in tier 5, there's other items that can give you higher hit. So like the shoulders, for instance, will give you hit. The chest will give you hit. And the key here with tier 5 is getting that steady shot bonus. Until you get the Forset of tier 5, it is not worth using versus Beast Lord. Remember this point. Tier 5 is only worth using versus Beast Lord when you get that Forset bonus. So that's how gearing should be done in tier 5. You don't just assign random pieces to random people. You give 2 set to a mage, because you're sharing pieces with mages. Warlocks are in the back end of this. So you share tier pieces with mages, warlocks. Warlocks, they don't get priority on tier 5. Mages may get 2 set or even 4 set, and all hunters. And what guilds should do is give each hunter, or as many hunters as they can, 4 set at a time. So that's how they should do it. They shouldn't just like, oh, this hunter gets 1 piece this week, then this other hunter gets another piece. No, give 4 set. Give the entire set to 1 hunter, because that's what will actually increase their DPS. Until that point, the pieces will just be lying in a bank. Helmet and chest from Vash. Now, the problem with the chest or the helmet is that obviously the helm drops from Vash, the chest drops from Kael'thas, and you may have a limited number of those, or you may have genuine competition for those. In that kind of case, you may be using the tier pants that are not too bad. Obviously, you're losing those 2 gem sockets, but it might be worth using it, especially until you can get both the helm and the chest, for which you will have genuine competition. Next stays the same as in tier 4. Cloak. You can still use the Vengeance Wrap, or you can use the Drape of the Dark Reavers, or you can get the Wilder Cloak from Kael'thas Sunstrider. Good luck with that. A lot of people will want that, and chances are most people will be using Vengeance Wrap until tier 6. Bracers, Van Braces of Ending from High Astromancer Solarian, though there are some other choices that are pretty solid in their own right, such as the Band of the Celestial Archer from Trash in Tempest Keep, or the True Aim Stalker bands. Like, there's choices here depending on whether or not your survival or BM, like a BM hunter could do pretty well with True Aim Stalker bands, whereas a survival hunter would likely want to get their hands on the Van Braces of Ending or the Bands of the Celestial Archers, whatever they prefer. Weapons, like tier 4 weapons obviously do apply. There's also some 2-hander weapons, but I've said those are not really what you want to go for. The Talon of the Phoenix and the Claw of the Phoenix. The Talon of the Phoenix should go to BM hunters. The Claw may go to survival hunters who would want it, though, of course, melee will want these weapons, potentially like enhanced shamans, but melee should also get the blacksmithing main hand at the very least. So you may not have competition for main hand, you may have competition for offhand, but maybe not, because it's very fast and not all that great for a lot of people. So just bear that in mind. Both these are pretty solid. There's some other choices as well available in tier 5, but depends on what you're lucky you're going to get. Like getting these two, yeah, have fun with that. You can farm these for months and not get a single one. Welcome to Burning Crusade rating and welcome to World of Warcraft raid drops. Good luck with that. But this is aspirational at any rate. Belt of Deep Shadow, which is crafted by leather workers. It does require the pattern is BOP, I believe, and drops from tier 5. And you do require nether vortexes, but this is pretty much the best in slot belt that you can get as a hunter in tier 5. Pants from Void Reaver, boots from Solarian, like Star Strider boots, like these compared to Edgewalkers, like they have more attack power, they have slightly more agility, but no hit, so we're making those trade-offs. Rings, and this is where like Ring of Lethality and Band of the Ranger General. The Survival Hunter would get priority on Ring of Lethality, BM would maybe get on Band of the Ranger General. You can of course still use the tier 4 rings, but these are the tier 5 options. Trinkets remain the same, though you also get the alternative. Once you're in tier 5, you also get the alternative of using Tsunami Talisman, which drops from Leofrost the Blind. It's a pretty solid physical trinket. You can use it versus Hourglass because it's pretty much like Hourglass, isn't it? Right? You get an attack power, like chance on critical hit to increase attack power, and Tsunami is just a slightly better version than Hourglass. Ranged weapon, well, you have two choices in tier 5. You have Arcanite Steam Pistol, which drops from Malar, and you have Serpent Spine Longbow. Those are your two choices. Survival Hunters will want the Steam Pistol. BM Hunters will probably want the Serpent Spine, to my understanding. Anyway, that's really all there is to talk about here. And this gear set does have 10% ranged hit chance, so you can change some items here around. Like you could go with even less hit than this gear set has. You could swap some items around, maybe the rings or one of the rings. Like you could, let's say you only get a handful of Ring of Lethalities. You can get the Ring of the Recalcitrant in this case, and like swap that around, still maintain the hit cap. You can even drop even more hit with this kind of gear set, and that's going to be useful going into tier 6. As I said, tier 6 pieces don't have the same kind of hit as previous tiers do, so having extra hit is actually going to be very beneficial. Costin here signing out. Don't forget to subscribe, like, and enable notifications, and stay tuned for more.